Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about 6 questions you need to answer before you sign a lease for some kind of a booth in a mall, like an antique mall or a mercantile or someplace like that. Before you agree to lease a booth space where you want to sell your things, you need to answer some of these questions to make sure that you're going to be getting the best value for your money and getting yourself in the right space. So stay tuned and we'll talk about it. For any of you who are thinking about getting a booth space because you like to flip furniture or paint furniture and then resell things that you've thrifted. A lot of people who watch my channel like that. So if you are into furniture flipping, be sure and check out below. There's a link to my furniture flip pricing worksheet that can give you some pointers on how to price your furniture based on how much work you put into it or how much you paid for it. And it's just a good worksheet to go through and keep track of how much you're spending for things and how much money you're making when you sell them. So check that out in the link below. Well, hi, I'm Amy. I'm a painter, and in the past I used to own a furniture store that specialized in children's furniture. We did a lot of custom painted furniture for kids' rooms, and I also used to paint murals in kids' nurseries, and I had a wholesale line of products, like home decor products, that I used to sell at trade shows like the World Trade Center and the wholesale markets all over the country. So I have had a lot of experience with having different kinds of booths and stores and ways of selling furniture and decor. And today what I want to talk about specifically is getting a booth, agreeing to lease some space in someone else's mall, like antique mall, craft mall, mercantile, or something like that. So I want you to think through some things before you sign on the dotted line. I know we creatives, a lot of times we act on impulse, we make our decisions intuitively. But I do want to encourage you, as someone who's spent years on the business side of selling art things, to answer these questions before you jump in to make sure that you're going to maximize your money, that you're not going to be just throwing away your money and wishing that you weren't committed to something, and that you're going to find the right space for you to have the best chance of selling your things. All right, let's dive in. Question number 1 for you to answer is, what do you want to sell? Get pretty specific about what you want to sell. If you primarily want to just sell furniture, flip furniture, because you love painting furniture and things like that, and you like getting it from a thrift store, painting it with chalk paint or something, and then trying to sell it, I want to caution you that renting a booth in a space like that might not be your best bet. And I did a video in the past, so I don't want you guys to think that I'm totally against antique mall booths and things like that, but I did a video, and I'll put a card for it here, about selling furniture, flipping furniture specifically, because a lot of you guys watch my channel for furniture flipping videos. And if all you're selling is furniture, a booth in an antique mall might not be the best way to spend your money, because from the experience that I have seen, most people who have antique mall booths that sell furniture, they still list it on Craigslist or online or some other place. They're still having to market it somehow. And a lot of them say that most of what they sell through the antique mall is the small things, and then they still have to do more to sell their furniture pieces, their bigger pieces, to market them in several other places, whether that be on Etsy or on a website, or primarily Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace or things like that, or online Facebook groups. So you may still have to do all that, and if you're just primarily interested in furniture and not interested in smaller things, then a booth might not be the best for you, because the bread and butter for daily kinds of sales for people who have these booths is more smaller items. And so if you're not interested in doing that and keeping those in stock and finding those things and selling them, then that may not be the best way to spend your time and your money. So check out that other video about your options for places to sell furniture specifically, and keep that in mind when you're making this decision. If you're interested in selling things like fine antique type stuff, then there are going to be certain antique malls who kind of cater more to that. And you'll know, you need to go there, you need to look around, you need to really take in what you're seeing primarily that is being sold there and what's doing the best there. So I'm going to show some pictures of a mall near me. It's a successful mall, and it has a lot of, if you first walk in the doors and you see a whole lot of dark brown, giant, ornate carved furniture and chandeliers and stuff, chances are this is a mall that people go to who are looking for antiques with a capital A, the real fancy, genuine antique type stuff. If that's what you're interested in selling, then look at a mall like that to put your stuff in. Now, on the other hand, if you're interested in selling more like vintage, upcycled decor, things that people would use to decorate their house, maybe things with chippy paint or an old rusty, saw blade used to hang on the wall or things like that, then you may want to go to a place that's selling more like vintagey decor types of items. If you walk in and the first thing you see is a lot of that type of stuff in the prime booths up front, then you know that that mall tends to appeal to people who are shopping for that type of stuff. So you want to try and find a mall that kind of matches with you. Now, finally, if what you're interested in selling is not even really antique or vintage stuff, but stuff that's new things either that you're buying at market or even crafts that you're making or things that would be more like boutique-y, maybe you make candles or things like that. Maybe you sell things, maybe you buy things that are vintage looking, but they're really fake vintage. They're not real, actual vintage things, so they're things that you could order multiples of and sell. In that case, you're probably better off to go to a place that has more booths that sell that kind of stuff. Around here where I live, we call those mercantiles. There's several of them and they are really cute. There's several around me that sell, it means it's not just an antique mall. It's called a mercantile because it's more like a collection of a bunch of little boutiques. And they sell a lot of different things, and some of them are handmade or crafts, and some of them are vintagey or upcycled, but there's not as much of that stuff as there is in like an antique mall. Question number 2 that you need to kind of get answered in your head is, who are your target customers? And is there a mall or a place near you that appeals to those people or where they shop? This goes hand in hand with question number 1. You need to have your stuff selling in the place where those kind of people are going to come and shop for it. So, for example, if you sell stuff that is not like fine high-end antiques, and you put your things in a fine high-end antique store, even if it's a busy store that gets a lot of traffic, if everybody who comes there is basically looking for, a gigantic expensive credenza from 1800, then your stuff is not likely to do as well there. So because your customer is not the one coming through the door. The people who come through that door are looking for more like traditional antiques. So if you can figure out who your customer is, what kind of thing he or she likes, and then what malls they would be most likely to shop at, those are the ones that you want to target when you're trying to decide where you could get a booth. Question number 3, don't forget to ask this question, because sometimes when we're just starting off, we don't think that we dare ask what somebody could do for us. We just want to jump through whatever hoops they have, whatever their requirements are to try and get a booth. But it's important to ask, what can this location or this landlord do for you? First of all, go there on a Saturday for sure, multiple times. Go on the weekends and see how much traffic they have. Do they draw traffic into their store? Because no matter how cute the place is, if no one comes there to shop, you will not be able to sell anything. So super important to see how much traffic they get. The other thing besides checking, obviously, on the busy days on the weekends, if you go into a mall and there's like no one there on a Saturday, Saturday is your biggest day. Don't expect that, I bet I'll do all my sales on a Wednesday morning. So those are the days you want to check. It also doesn't hurt to check during the week and see if they get any traffic during the week. But definitely on the weekends, you should be seeing some people in there, or else you don't have much hope that you're going to get enough traffic to have sales. The other thing to ask is there an extra draw? Do they have something else that brings people in? One of the locations that I'm going to show here, it's the one that has the kind of more fine antiques. They are in a strip mall that doesn't have like a lot of foot traffic, but they have a successful tea room there that's been there for years, and people come all the time to have little showers there. They have a separate room where they can have parties, and ladies come there to meet for lunch. And so they do a good business at that tea room, and that really helps bring traffic into this mall. The other one that I'm showing is in downtown McKinney, which is this super cute little downtown area that gets tons of foot traffic, and they have all kinds of festivals and things that the old-fashioned downtown area is doing, the Merchants Association. And so you're just going to get traffic there anytime on a weekend just by people who are there walking around the square, the old downtown near the courthouse, and checking out all the shops. And so you want to find a place that's going to have some traffic. Don't just imagine that people are magically going to find your booth unless there's an area where you're seeing that people are coming pretty frequently to shop and to look for things. Okay, the thing that goes hand in hand with this is that if it is a mall that has good traffic and that that is busy and people come to and people like to buy things, then it's very likely that they will have a waiting list to get a booth there. And I just want to caution you, because we get excited about it, we decide we want to do it, we're impulsive artists, and so we just find the one that has a space available and we say, I'll take it. But it is probably worth your while to wait, to get on a waiting list and wait to be in the right place than it is to be in the wrong place that you can get right now. Because, you know, it can make all the difference in how much you're selling if the customers who want to buy your things are coming into that location. If they're not, if your customers aren't coming there, then you may be just throwing your money away every month, and you can very quickly get discouraged. And, you know, once you get discouraged, then you kind of stop trying, you stop doing anything. It's a vicious cycle, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where you're not really making any money and you're really bummed out and you think that you're not good at this, and maybe it's just a matter of not being in the right location. So have patience and find the right spot. It's important. Question number 4, along the lines of what can that location do for you, is do they make it easy for their customers? And then secondarily, for the people who are renting booths there. So some of the things you want to check out, you want to find out, like, what are their hours? What are their payment policies? Do they make it easy for people to pay them? What is their parking like? Is it easy to get to? You know, easy to get in and out of, plenty of parking. What is their, check and see what their loading area in the back is. For you as a vendor, this will make a difference, and also for your customers, if you are selling furniture or kind of a big piece, they'll probably need to come around to the back to pick it up. Or however they do that, you know, it's worth finding out how they typically do that when a customer buys kind of a bigger piece. And is there someone there who will help the customer load up the piece? So all those things to make sure that the experience for your customers is going to be good, and that the location, the landlord, is going to be doing everything they can to make a good experience for the customer, so the customer will be happy and keep coming back. And a subcategory of that question of how easy do they make it for their customers and their vendors is, how much do they take in commissions and fees? Do they require you to come work a certain number of times a month, or how much do they charge you if you don't do that? Those kinds of policies that are going to cost you and take away from your bottom line or from your time, you have to consider, you know, how doable they are for you. So just make sure you know up front kind of what it is you're doing. And if you're comparing a couple of different places, consider that as part of what you're considering for the pros and cons. Question number 5, and this is really important for you to define before you jump in and try to do this, is how will you be special? There's a paradox here that's very important. It's important to find the balance between what I was just talking about, is finding a mall where a lot of the other vendors are kind of similar to what you're selling, and yet at the same time standing out from the other vendors. So what you want is simpatico, like basically your stuff would appeal to the same buyers, but you want your booth to definitely not just blend in with all the others. So figure out within that mall that's appealing to your type of buyer, what are you going to do that's going to make you special, so that they are drawn to your booth and they see and they want to step in and see what you have time after time, every time they come back. People who shop at these malls, they have their favorite ones they go back to frequently. And if you're always offering something new or something special, they will always come back into your booth and they'll buy from you over and over again. So it's important to answer this question. One way that you can stand out is to specialize in something real specifically. You've seen this probably at certain antique malls. One person who just sells record albums. One person who only sells things that are all white. There's somebody named Paula who has booths in a lot of local places. Everything's all white. You can tell her stuff immediately. And she's very specialized in the way that she collects it, or what it is that she's willing to sell. Do you only sell toys, vintage toys? Do you only sell Tiffany lamps, or specifically lots of that type of leaded glass lamps? Something like that you really specialize in. Some places who only sell vintage fans. That's something where you'll come to be known for that, for specializing in that, only vintage tools. Then people will come to you and you'll get a reputation for having that specific thing. So that's one way to be special. Another way to be special, and you really should do this even if you don't want to specialize to the point that you're only carrying one thing, but that's to curate your things, or to edit what you're going to put out in your booth. so that your booth, when someone walks by, like, it has a vibe, it has a certain message or a certain look or a certain thing that you're conveying to the customer, like as soon as they walk by, without them having to pay a lot of attention. They immediately get a message that you're sending. Either this booth has things that are very feminine, or this booth has things that are very masculine or sports oriented, or this booth has things that are kind of kid centric or toys, or this booth has things that are a little more of a funky vibe. This booth has things that are more of like a chippy, primitive kind of looking vibe. Something that draws people in and allows them to kind of quickly assess what you're about. Because people are having fun when they're at these antique malls, they're talking to their friends, they're walking by paying like half attention. And you need for them to be able to see, I've said this in some of my other videos about having a mall set up, a booth set up for like shows like holiday shows or craft shows. It's the same thing. People are walking by, you only get about half their attention. You need to send a message easily that can break through for them to go, oh, I like the feel of that. That feels, that feels like it's got some kind of cool, sporty, more masculine type stuff, and that's unusual in a mall like this. Or this one feels like, it's just definitely my style. There's a whole lot happening with a certain color scheme that really resonates with me. And so that's one thing that you definitely should do, is curate your booth, have enough discipline to only put things in that will look great together, so that every time somebody walks into your booth, they go, wow, this is beautiful. This person has a good sense of style. Now, like I said, this requires a certain amount of discipline, self-discipline, that even if you just bought something awesome that you can't wait to sell, but it doesn't go with the stuff you have in there this month, it's just going to be kind of like a one-off weirdo that doesn't seem to fit, then you need to have the discipline to hold off and pull that and not put it in until the time is right, that it will add to the overall look of your booth and to the whole message that you're sending. And one reason that you do this is not only so that people will feel drawn into your booth, but you are sending a message about your brand and about what your look is, and that if people resonate with that, they immediately know that anything you have in here is something they potentially could like. But not only that, you're also showing people that you have a good sense of style and decor and how to put things together. And what that does is it proves to them, even if they don't quite trust their own design instincts, it proves to them that they can trust yours. That they can trust that anything you have in your booth is going to be cool or nice or appropriate for the kind of room that they imagine themselves decorating or having. You're proving to them that they can trust you, that you're not going to put something in here that they would put in their house and then their friends would be like, what is that weird thing? They're trusting that, oh, I can trust this person. Even if I'm not sure how to decorate, I see what they did is totally cool looking, and everything else in here is cool looking, so I know that anything in here is safe for me. I don't need to second guess myself if I don't have as much confidence about decorating. So anytime that you can prove that to people and let them trust you and trust your decisions, your picking ability and your editing ability and your design ability, then that makes them trust you more, that they can buy from you and that they can come to you over and over and find things that they like. The final question, question number 6, is how will you get repeat business? There are several things you can do to help encourage repeat business, and that's really a good thing to do, even if you're in a mall in someone else's space. One of the first things you can do, and I touched on it in number 5, is branding. Branding means that you kind of know what the look, what the vibe, what the feel of your space is going to be, and you're true to that. And so people can kind of remember something about your space, your name, your location, and the kinds of things that you collect, and they can recognize and come back to it again and again. So one thing you can do for repeat business is, on your tags, if you are able to do that, don't just put, booth note spot 379. Put the name of your booth, get a stamp, get an old luggage tag, put the stamp of the name of your booth so they take that home and that's memorable. Have a website on it, or have a QR code, something that takes people and the next step towards building a relationship with you and remembering you and knowing who you are. So something like that can help them to connect with you in a second place, in a second way, is really going to help them get to know, like, and trust you and want to buy from you, and repeat business will happen after that. Another way that you can do it, that you can get repeat business, is if you regularly redecorate and refresh your space. If you, at the bare minimum, seasonally, go in there and put in things that are relevant. Pull out some things that aren't fresh feeling anymore and put in something that has to do with the season we're in, the holidays, or what's going on, or what types of things people are going to need. Keep your space fresh. If something's been there for too long, take it out for a while. You can put it back in later and then it may feel new again with a different mix of things. But continue, at least every 2 months. It's a lot of work to rehang things and rearrange and move things, but it will be worth it. It pays off because people will keep coming back. Like I said, we're creatures of habit. Every time I go to downtown McKinney, I go through Antique Company Mall because I enjoy doing it and seeing what's in there. So you'll get the same people coming multiple times. If you have a different layout than you had a month ago, then you have more chances to sell to the same people. So it's important to do that and to keep it fresh. So make sure before you sign on the dotted line that you're willing to do that and to kind of keep on changing things out, freshening it up, visiting there often enough that it's accessible enough to you that you can visit it, keep it fresh, and make sure that you have enough stuff in there to sell. So final little note about that, always make sure you're keeping track of what is selling so that as soon as possible, if you sell something, especially bigger pieces, or if you have a weekend when you sell quite a few things, that you're going to go in there right away and fill it back up again so that it's always got a good amount of stuff and it's not looking like the cupboard's all bare and there's nothing there to look at, or no one will go in and spend any extra time if it just looks like basically the shelves are bare and you don't have very much inventory. All right, if you answer all those questions and really think through those things, I think it will make a big difference in how successful you can be off the bat for getting yourself into one of these spaces and finding the right match for you, and then being able to have success with it when you're in there. I wish you all the best. If that's something you're going to do, I would love to hear about it. If you have a booth space somewhere, I would love for you to talk about it. Hit us up down in the bottom and tell us where you have a booth space, or tell us about it. Or if you're thinking about getting a booth space, what kinds of things would you sell? And just let me know down in the comments. I want to hear all about it. Best of luck to you, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.